This is Mike Lawler. He's a Republican.
He has also won the argument when it comes to deporting criminal aliens. Most Americans agree with that. Where I think most Americans also agree is that if you have been in this country 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you've been working, you've not committed crimes, you have children or grandchildren that are American citizens. We want a legal path forward, not citizenship, not amnesty, but a legal process forward that those people can come out of the shadows and go through. The reality is we're not going to be able to round everybody up and kick them out. And what you see in sanctions.
He's also made a bunch of comments about how horrible it is, how horrible what's happening with these shootings, how horrible they were. Florida GOP rep says Trump's immigration tactics hurting our chances at the midterms. Florida Republican, go away. Rep Carlos Gomez expressed concerns Tuesday that the Trump administration's tactics in its hardline immigration crackdown could hurt the GOP heading into midterms. Politically, it's hurting our chances at the midterms, and I'm just being frank about it, Jimenez told Newsmax. And the most important thing we have to do is actually keep the majority, because if not, we're going to go back to the policies of Joe Biden and open borders. It's the last thing we want. Jimenez, who chairs the House Homeland Security Subcommittee on Transportation, said it's time we reevaluate how we do things when it comes to the crackdown on illegal immigration. He pointed to the loss of life in Minnesota and welcomed Trump's decision to send Border Czar Tom Homan to sideline Patrol Chief Greg Bovino. The Florida Republican said he's told the White House about his concerns, adding he's not comfortable with what's happening in Minneapolis. There's got to be a better way. We should be going after criminals one at a time, and added Americans did not support deporting grandmothers or somebody who's taking care of kids. It's been here 10 to 15 years. Actually, we have to face reality. There's no practical way to deport the people, so find a solution to this. Here's that former Representative Lawler we just played. Here's what he wrote today in the New York Times. After tensions have calmed, Congress can then piece together the rest of an immigration plan that settles the issue. Along with building on Mr. Trump's border policies, a realistic plan would provide a path to legal status, not citizenship, for long-term illegal immigrants without criminal records. This path would be rigorous and fair, and it would aim to keep families together. Fair means those who benefit would face mandatory work requirements, forego public assistance and pay fines, and any back taxes they might owe. Congress would have to change the legal immigration system too. Lawmakers should create a system which applicants' merit matters more than it does now, better accounting for the country's economic needs. I'm the husband of a naturalized citizen. My wife came to the United States in pursuit of a better life. I will always fight to provide opportunity to others who have the potential and desire to contribute to America's success. We must be a nation of laws, but also one that offers dignity and compassion. Remember that word. You're going to hear that word dignity a lot from Republicans coming up. Dignity and compassion to those seeking to pursue the American dream. The events of the past several years show that there will be no Democrat or Republican solution to immigration, only an American one. Wow, amazing. Democrat Representative Tom Suozzi and Republican Representative Brian Fitz. They lead what they call the Problem Solvers Caucus. Let's see what they have to say. Dear Mr. President, the tragedy in Minneapolis and the looming federal government shutdown demand that Congress and the White House, Democrats and Republicans, finally work together to address the immigration and border security issues that have festered for too long. Decades of legislative branch gridlock and executive branch missteps have contributed to anxiety, fear, and now anger and mistrust. Let's seize this moment to act together in a bipartisan manner for the good of our nation. Mr. President, you've had great success in securing our border. The success is now being overshadowed by the interior enforcement that has given rise to a growing rejection by the public. We are renewing our request for immediate meeting to share our bipartisan efforts to propose legislation to, one, permanently secure our border consistent with your executive action. Now, notice what they do is they blow smoke up Trump, say, oh, you're doing so great. You've secured the border. You've done so great. Let's enshrine that. Let's enshrine that. And now, after they blow smoke up his ass, number two, fix the broken asylum system that's been corrupted by the cartels and other bad actors trying to profit off the exploitation of desperate immigrants and families. Number three, provide legal protection to millions of immigrants, consistent with your admonition to use some common sense regarding the modernization of our immigration system. Amnesty, make sure all those illegals that are here, let's make sure that they all have amnesty and they're allowed to stay. Next, this is the problem-solving caucus with Republican Fritz there. Yep. Next, strengthen police community relations by ensuring that federal law enforcement officers only engage in enforcement actions for which they are properly trained that are consistent with their agency's specific mission. Ensuring compliance with standard law enforcement protocol and enforcing local law enforcement to work hand in hand with the cooperation of federal authorities to apprehend those who pose a public safety threat to our communities. 5, require that all federal enforcement involved shooting incidents must be subject to a thorough independent investigation and objective and unbiased review of the evidence. If we work together, there will be dramatically less need for enforcement, and we could focus on those violent criminals that must be deported and on the positive contributions of the millions of immigrants, illegal immigrants, who work hard, raise families, work together with law enforcement, and who contribute so much to our nation. As of so many generations of immigrants who came before them, now's the time to come together, to lower the temperature, reject reckless rhetoric, condemn violence and hatred in all of their forms, and lead with respect, restraint, and above all, humanity. Humanity and dignity, that'll be the words. For one another and for the rights and institutions that hold our society together. Brian Fitzpatrick, ladies and gentlemen. From my state of Pennsylvania, I believe. Now notice, if you were really being bipartisan and you were like, look, I actually don't want to deport all these, so let's come together. Wouldn't part of your goals be like, and dismantle and go after the criminals that have attacked ICE and find their fun? Wouldn't that be part of what you're saying if you're like, well, we have to investigate and, all this shit for ICE officers that possibly broke the law? Wouldn't you say that? But they don't. None of them say that. I didn't hear Lawler saying that. I didn't hear Fitzpatrick say that. I didn't hear that other guy, Jimenez. I didn't hear them say that. It's almost like, now hear me out here. This is going to blow your mind. But maybe the reason that we're losing the PR war is because the truth is that the Republicans in Congress don't want deportations. Maybe that's why we're losing the PR war. Because the truth is, they secretly hope the left wing's violence works. Remember when I said the reason that Republicans don't want to abandon the filibuster is because they want the filibuster as an excuse. Because the truth is, so many Republicans don't want Trump's agenda. And as long as the filibuster's there, it allows them to have an excuse. Well, we would have done something, but we couldn't do anything. Why do you think the blue slip tradition, which isn't a law, it's just a tradition, hasn't been passed or revoked? Do you realize that any state, only about 1/3 of Trump's appointments for AGs in states have been passed? And we're over a year into his presidency? Basically, the blue strip tradition means that anyone's allowed on their own to hold up these appointments. That means any state that has Democratic senators isn't going to appoint one of Trump's picks. Why would Republicans allow that? Because they don't want Trump's picks. And they'll say, shucks, norms. What can we do? Norms? They're saying they're going to kill Trump. Where are you? We see the violence every day. Nary a word from the Republicans. This is what I'm saying. Look, I'll talk shit in Trump. I do it all the time. We're going to do a little of that later. But let's be clear what he's up against here. He has no institutional support politically. None. He has his administration. That's it. The fucking Republicans actively want amnesty. They want it for their fucking buddies, their lobbyists, so they can have cheap labor. And Trump's going to give in. And I almost can't blame him. I almost can't. What the fuck's he supposed to do? They're going to kill him. They're going to kill Trump. Republicans will allow it to occur. Whether that's through some crazy assassin or some fucking trial after he's out of office. That's what they're promising to do, right? Guy running for attorney general in Ohio? And make no mistake, these are just a handful that have came out and said it. This is the movement. This is what's going on. But Rob, come on. These are just randos. Not really. How about someone who is seen as someone who's sort of an establishment Republican guy? He's been there for a long time. A lot of people like a known name, a household name. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Newt Gingrich.
The president has to, in a sense, open up a national dialogue. Everybody agrees, not everybody, but certainly a vast majority agrees that we want to control the border. A vast majority agrees that if you are a genuine criminal, then we should get you out of the country. We don't have to have murderers, rapists, drug dealers, gang members in the United States, period. But I think as a country, we believe, to quote Congresswoman Salazar, who said, this is about dignity. Americans don't want to see the police behaving like a mob. Americans don't want to see people killed in the streets. And Americans don't want to see the kind of hunting down people in a way that really demeans the process. So I think there are two things. We need a national conversation about what we're going to do about people who've come here, some of them 20 years ago, who've been obeying the law, paying taxes, good neighbors, have kids, go to PTA. Very few Americans want to see the police walk in and pick them up and deport them. On the other hand, people do not want to give them citizenship. So there should be some middle ground here on long-term goals. Second, the ICE police, who I'm totally for, and I do not believe state and local governments have the right to interfere with federal officers in the pursuit of legal policies, and these are all legal. I think that they may well need more training, a little more restraint. I used to talk with British officers and soldiers who've been patrolling Northern Ireland, where you really had a difficult problem because you were in a totally nice neighborhood and 30 seconds later, somebody fired a shot at you. How do you respond responsibly? And I think we may need a greater training program at ICE, but I absolutely believe that the federal government has the obligation to enforce the law and that anybody who tries to stop it is engaged in insurrection.
Now, they get their big balls. They get their big balls about this. Where were they when, I don't know, law enforcement was hunting down pro-lifers? Remember Newt going on? Oh, we need to reform law enforcement. Remember that? Nah, me neither. How about going after January 6th? Nah. How about Catholics? How about school board teachers? How about when we were fucking locked down under COVID? Where was Newt? Where were the Republicans? They got more balls going after their own side. Because the truth is, this isn't their side. It is a globalist uniparty. The reason that there is such a problem with immigration is because both the Republicans and Democrats wanted it to be so. The reason that there's such a problem with fraud in these NGOs is because Republicans and Democrats wanted it to be so. That's the issue. Now, there are those that say Donald Trump is just pretending to not be part of this. I don't believe that, but maybe so. But let's assume for a second that that's not the case. With all the criticism, and I give Trump a lot of it, can you see the scale of what he's up against? I don't know if Trump could see it, but can you? Can you see it? If there was let's say Obamacare, right? Let's say that a bunch of right-wingers decided we're going to riot against law enforcement, we're going to riot against Obamacare. And then police started to go after the rioters. And there were signal apps and conservatives were discussing on how to tail the police and this, that, and the other, everything you're seeing now with the left. Do you think for a fucking second that you would have Democrats coming out going, well, they have a point. They have a point. We need common sense. We need dialogue. The police need to lower. We don't want the police running around and hunting people down. Do you think for a second, not only would the Democrats not do that, the Republicans like Newt Gingrich and Mike Lawler and company, they'd be right there going, this is outrageous. Arrest them all. But here's where we're at. Now, Newt knows as well as I know and you know that the left's making these violent conflicts inevitable and setting this up. He don't give a fuck. And they so know how to appeal to Trump. Oh, Trump, you've been excellent at securing the border. And like you said, there's some good illegals here. And we need you to win for your agenda. For your agenda, we need you to win the midterms, right? You're doing such an excellent job, right? Oh, you're just amazing, Trump. Yes, you know. But we need to have amnesty. Can we get back to amnesty? I did just watch the Lord of the Rings movies last week, so it's like the beginning of Lord of the Rings, right? Let me see if I get the name right. Isildur chops off Sauron's fingers. He's got the ring, right? And he goes and he's about to destroy the ring, and then he's like, no. That's it, man. We have the chance. Deport them all. Do it. You're right there. You're ready to drop it into the lava. Nah. We could use it to our benefit. And there we go. Right at the end. We're almost there, and we're going to back down.